Dear Diary, you'd never believe where I am. My life is a little unusual, and I break every stereotype in the book. And if we asked all 7 billion Earthlings to guess where I am, not one would guess correctly. That reverb is natural. I am in a little place called a homeless shelter, but a very, very peculiar one. This is my first time ever in a homeless shelter in New York, or anywhere. And I have some amazing facts to report. 1, I am in the world-famous Bellevue. When lots of people hear the word Bellevue, they think famous mental ward, psych hospital. Today, Bellevue normally means a city-run hospital in New York City, but for decades, perhaps centuries, it was known, Bellevue, that's where you took crazy people, to Bellevue. You take the nutsos to Bellevue. You take the fucking witches and warlocks to Bellevue. I am in that famous building, which has been converted into a large, vacant, it's like a haunted house almost. It's pretty amazing. I actually love it. I saw, and I could see somebody painted over somewhere in the bathroom where it says, "This place sucks." And I was like, no, this place rocks. It's in Midtown Manhattan, 30th and 1st Avenue. And the place is incredible. It's a zillion times better than my wildest dreams. I had heard so many horror stories about the homeless shelters, and so but then my friends fucked me over, so I got my friends, I should name some names, Trachtenberg Family Slideshow Players, Master Lee and Larkin Grimm, Jessica Delfino, Julian Zulaga. There's lots more names to name. Who's your name? Some of the people I don't want to, my legal aid lawyers, NYPD, DA's office, almost every reporter in New York City, yada, yada, yada. And so I went to the Coalition for the Homeless and asked them about, like, are there good shelters versus bad shelters? Are shelters still... Because I wanted to go somewhere where I could stay and maybe work on my laptop or even write on the ukulele, some kind of, a little bit of freedom. I wasn't sure, am I going to be in a room with 25 beds? Is it going to be a bunch of homeless guys who stink? Is there still crime and tuberculosis? But I got I asked a few different people, and it sounded promising. So tonight, I came down, and like the curfew's at 10 p.m. supposedly. I got here at like 9:30, but I'm a new person, so I need to go through intake. I arrived and walked in, kind of a large, spooky place. Oh, this building is supposedly from the 1700s. Isn't that amazing? It feels like a giant, giant castle. That's industrial castle. The ceilings are grand and high. The floors are like Art Deco tiles, but it's run down. It's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I'm only on the 2nd floor, and it seems like there's 100 rooms on this one floor. Just hallway upon hallway, and wings and hallways and wings and hallways and wings and hallways and wings. And it's all empty rooms. They all have heavy industrial doors, and it looks like there used to be a window so the staff could look in and see if the patient was hanging themselves or whatever, who knows. But those windows have all been boarded up. But all the doors to each room is like fucking heavy-duty industrial bullshit. Really, they're big doors. Maybe if they had to wheel stretchers in, I don't know. Big industrial doors. The place is mostly concrete. Sprawling, enormous, cavernous place. All the rooms are huge. I am right now. So I wasn't sure. Am I going to be in a dorm with lots of beds? Is there going to be a lot of noise? Who knows what? Will I be able to use the computer without somebody saying, hey, you got a computer? Why do you have a computer and you're homeless? So So I can't believe how fucking sprawling this place is. Your head would spin. They are wasting. You could house maybe 10,000 people in this building. Like, make it affordable housing for 10,000 students. When I ran for mayor, one of the ideas I had was $50 a month housing. The idea is that not everybody wants space. Some people will take low price over everything else, as long as they're safe. And I proposed $50 a month housing, which is easy to build and totally practical. For $50 a month, you have your own room, but it's almost microscopic. You have a key, your own lock. Nobody else has a key to that door. And you go in, and it's like a bed. It might be a loft bed, like a shitty loft bed, and then a desk underneath it. A window. Every room has a window. But we don't even need to have that. I'd pay $50 a month for a room with no window. But give every room a window, and the room is small, just barely fits a bed. That's all the person needs. If you're a writer and you want to move to New York City, you shouldn't have to pay $900 to live in the ghetto. You should be able to pay $50 a month, and you sacrifice space and things like that. And luxury. And you have very minimal housing. A fucking bed. We don't even need to give them a desk, but we could easily do that too. A desk that's under the bed. And no room, nothing else. That's totally reasonable. But we've had 17 years of Republicans running the city, and the Republicans don't believe that anything should be affordable. Because remember, not only are they all rich, but not one Republican businessman made a penny of his money legally. So they don't understand reality. They don't care if everything gets more expensive because they can just keep raising their pay anytime they want. Do you see how that works? Republican politician and Republican businessmen don't care about inflation or any of those things, because if you're the head of Apple and your taxes double or any of your bills double, well, you just raise the price of your product and make up the difference. It's really that simple. Right? Giuliani gave himself a 50% pay raise. How is it legal that a scumbag can get elected office, and he cheated, and give themselves a 50% pay raise while slashing services for the elderly? How is that possible? How do we not have safeguards in place stopping that? That's how fucking dirty your government is. That's how fucking, these people are fucking sick in the fucking head. These people aren't just crooks. Right? We have Mayor Bloomberg evicting 97-year-old people from their rent-stabilized homes. There's nowhere they can go. They're fucked. How do you do that to a 97-year-old person? You have to be so fucking sick. Hitler had the courtesy to fucking put them down and end their pain and suffering. Not Mike Bloomberg, the most psychotic fucking criminal to ever breathe air. What kind of asshole spends hundreds of millions of dollars to fight handicap groups who are suing him because he's violating federal handicap laws by refusing to make sidewalks wheelchair accessible? So if you're in a wheelchair, you might have to be fucking stuck in traffic. That was Mike Bloomberg's plan. And every reporter said, this man is a leader. Every single reporter in New York City said, this guy fucked over all the weak. This guy did fucking trillions of fucking sick shit that's going to ruin the human lives of many people for the next billion years unless this city destroys itself or fucking sinks into the ocean. And every reporter almost said, greatest mayor ever. He fucking murdered women and children. And they said, greatest mayor ever. Again, Bloomberg is the sickest human in history. But he's not 1% as evil as a journalist. Hitler, not 1% as evil as a journalist. And that's not completely fair, because Hitler and Bloomberg were both semi-journalists. They both own newspaper. Hitler ran a newspaper and Bloomberg ran a media company, radio, news, TV, etc. Probably a wacky coincidence, don't you think? I said journalist, the most evil person of all time, and two of the most evil politicians in all time just happen to be part of the media. That is a pretty... They weren't cooks. They could have both been chefs. Like I said, it's uncanny. Two of the most evil men in history were both chefs. Or were both equestrians. But they were both media. Stop and fucking think. That's some sick fucking shit. There is no Hitler without lying journalists. There is no Bloomberg or Dick Cheney or Stalin without lying journalists. If you go after lying journalists, you fix every other problem in society. Let me put that in perspective, because you think I'm exaggerating because you're not that smart. Tornadoes. We say, well, we're humans. We can't control tornadoes. There's certain things that even we fixed the human race and got rid of poverty and homelessness and all these things that are easy to fix, and got rid of war, which is easy to do. If it wasn't for the fact that all the rich scumbags who run everything don't make any money when there's no war. They want poverty. You need to have a slave labor class, right? You can't be paying all your workers fucking a living wage. That's not going to fucking work. How are you going to have 12 mansions? And you need those 12 mansions, even though 11 of them are sitting empty most of the time. That's how these people operate. They're deranged and sick. So anyhow, I've digressed, I think, but you can never digress when talking about the evils of journalists. You could hear my stories for the rest of your life, and you still wouldn't comprehend how evil journalists are. I can tell you personally, I personally can tell you millions of stories about journalists. You think I'm exaggerating? Oh my God, you have no idea. You have no idea. There are trillions of stories about the evils of journalists. I'm talking about ones I can cite personally. Many involving me, many involving people I know, and on and on and on. Hell, I can show you, I can list 1 million travesties by journalists, just by music writers, just by rock critics in Time Out New York, The Voice, Daily News, New York Times. Just with that one category, music writer, I can list and show you over 1 million crimes. Just me, one civilian, can show you 1 million crimes in one category of media. Media was designed and created to be dirty and corrupt. That's why you do these things. You start a Time Out New York, not because you care about art, because you know every restaurant is going to want you to eat there free, and every bar is going to give you free drinks, and every club's going to give you free admission, and every label's going to give you free CDs, and free. Everything is free. Everybody wants you to write about them. The bribes are literally limitless. You create a Time Out New York and a Village Voice because you have dirty, dirty intentions. Just like most people who become cops have dirty intentions to begin with. And most people who become politicians have dirty intentions to begin with. What can I do to convince you guys that government is evil? Apparently I can't, because every single liberal I knew was excited about a politician. They thought, this Barack Obama, this congressman, he's not a scumbag. He's a politician. He's telling us the truth when he tells us things we want to hear. And I was the only liberal who said, is it just me, or are they completely backwards? The more they found out politicians never tell the truth, the more they trusted politicians. No, I didn't really trust politicians. You didn't? So, you thought Barack Obama was a community activist, and then he became president. You didn't know he was a politician. You didn't know that he had to raise money from corporations to pay for his elections. You didn't know that? Because it was reported everywhere that he was a politician. And you said, well, I don't believe a politician lies. I'm going to vote for this guy. I was even telling everybody, are you retarded? I was telling everybody starting in 2004, 4 years before he fucking became president. This guy's a fucking fake. This guy's a fucking puppet of the corporations. And everyone said Christopher's crazy. Don't listen to Christopher. He's crazy. Barack Obama, look, it says right there on his poster. He stands for change. Can't you read? It says right there, hope. He stands for hope. What do you mean he's fucking full of shit and just telling people what they want to hear? That's a pretty good plan, hope. What are we going to do without hope? We need hope. We need more hope. This guy is bringing it. This guy is for real. That's what every super educated liberal I know said. That's pretty chilling. In fact, I don't know if I could top that. for chilling insanity. That's the world I was born into, a world of sick retards. I live in a fucktard world, a fucktard world, a fucktard world. I live in a fucktard world, a fucktard world, a fucktard world. And there's nothing I can do about it. My whole life I've been trying to educate people, and they get dumber every year. The more information you give them, the dumber they get. It's fucking baffling. Because they have the potential to be really smart. And then you see them just every day do the stupidest fucking shit possible. But let's get back to my current environs called Bellevue. It's down the street from the Bellevue Hospital. That is now what Bellevue generally means. And this place is motherfucking incredible. Let's see, what can I tell you? When we came in, I was a little, there was trepidation, I might say, when I entered the building. It looked a little intimidating, fascistic, kind of. Oh, I mean, it didn't help that on the block there's 2 bikes stripped to their cores, skeleton bikes that were robbed completely. And if you see the building, it's a little imposing, like haunted house kind of. But that wasn't my problem. I wasn't worried about that. I was worried about humans. I'm not afraid of ghosts. I'm afraid of living humans. So we go in. I go in, and there's a few guys lined up at the metal detector waiting to go through the metal detector, and there's the x-ray machine for their bags, etc., etc., etc. There's a few people who look like cops or security or whatever. And I'm a little worried. Oops, I have a bottle of vodka, half a bottle of vodka in my bag I've had for a week. I used to always carry a bottle of vodka with me for emergency situations. And it came in handy numerous times. Those are stories for other days. Well, I will digress because this is something everyone should know. When I got run over by a van in 2008, it turned on my foot and ripped my flesh apart. It was the greatest pain of my life. And you're talking to a guy who's not known much other than pain. I mean, even right now I'm in pain. You have no idea. I have like 6 different problems right now that hurt. For instance, both my hands. It's like one I almost broke last year. And there's pain in both my hands. Yada, yada, yada. So, as I was saying, pardon me, brain fart. I wanted to finish. I wanted to digress. I got run over by a van. Needless to say, I got hit the same way almost every pedestrian gets hit. You have the right of way in the crosswalk, and the vehicle is turning. And it, for some reason, just smashes into you because he's looking at somebody's ass or something. Mayor Bloomberg knows exactly what causes almost every pedestrian hit. His solution, go golfing in Bermuda. Thanks, Mike. So I got run over, and it was unbelievable. I think actually the bike went under my foot, so my foot was the meat in a van bicycle sandwich on asphalt. And it was, when it hit me, it was only going 4 miles per hour, but I'm in the crosswalk. I'm like, this asshole's, I was walking my bike. I was like, this asshole's gonna stop. I mean, he's going 4 miles per hour. It's like, wait, he is gonna stop, right? Because he wasn't even going, you understand? He was going about as slow as he could. So it's like, well, obviously he's just slowly turning and is rude. It's like, no, this motherfucker's not stopping. What the fuck? And you had like literally 1 second, and then it kind of turned and caught my foot. And that's how it's always, when people get hit, a lot of times it's like they're sucked into the wheel. It's pretty amazing. There's even some crazy video on YouTube. It's like, what the wheel catches you, there's nothing you can do because then it locks you in. It's not like you're getting hit by a vehicle and bouncing off of it, you see? If the wheel catches you, you're totally fucked because you're going to get sucked in. But it only went over my foot, turned, and the pain was so wrenching. They say your feet are actually much more sensitive than most of your body, so pain in your foot is a lot worse than pain anywhere else, and that seemed to be true. Remember, you're talking to a guy who's been assaulted 5,000 times by over 3,000 people. I've been hit by subways. I've been hit by cars. I've been punched by professional boxers in the face. I've been whipped by all kinds of weapons, smashed with all kinds of things. My sister fucking put out a cigarette lighter from a car into my fucking knee, melting my flesh, my naked flesh. I was wearing shorts. No human has ever known pain like me. And the pain of being run over by a van, just having my foot crushed, I thought I'm spending the rest of my life in a wheelchair. It was that kind of serious trauma. And right after it happened, he stopped. My bike got mangled. And then I sat down on, I don't know if I yelled or what, but sat down on the sidewalk, and I'd never felt anything like it. I started sweating immediately. It felt nauseous. These kinds of things you don't usually feel when you're injured physically. And I know, oh my God. I broke my thumb a couple of years ago too, and didn't trust the hospital to fix it. I let nature, and she did a pretty good job. I was saying, pardon me, I'm a little parched. I should go down to the vending machine. They have vending machines here. Not bad. Down on the first floor. I'm on the second floor of what appears to be like a 10-story, humongous brick 1700s. It mostly seems like it's more like 1930s when you actually see it, but I can't tell the difference between an institutional building from the 1700s and the 1930s. But one of the guards told me this building's from the 1700s. It feels like it's 1920s, 1930s, industrial, institutional. When the ambulance came, I said to them, and I don't normally ask for drugs or painkillers or trust prescription drugs at all. If you trust any corporation, you're a retard. Trusting the Pfizer and the rest of the pharmaceutical companies is retarded. We've already learned they're complete mass murdering killers. They've gotten caught killing their customers, and they never get punished. Because of, say it with me, journalists. That's right. If the media every day called on politicians to arrest the pharmaceutical companies who knew their product killed people and they left that detail out, these people would all be punished. But the media works for them because all these companies, Pfizer and stuff, buy advertising in the media. It's one giant super Nazi team. Remember, these people are, the Nazis, nothing compared to the corporations today. The corporations today kill hundreds of millions of people. Well, I should say literally kill billions. What do you say? The Nazis in World War II killed 100, 200 million people? Well, the corporations in America, I should say in the whole world, the corporations in the whole world kill over 1 billion people. Well, I could say they kill over 200 million people a year easily, right? You don't even realize. You know how many people die of natural causes? Almost nobody. So if you really want to get technical, I don't know how many humans die per year and how many are born per year, right? They say we're almost at 7 billion. And if 80, right? So do we know how much turnover there is per year? I don't know that. I can't look it up right now. Not that that would be trustworthy, but you see what I'm saying. If 1 billion people die a year, but 1 billion people are born a year, so there's not any kind of change in the population size, what percentage of those people died from natural causes? They were 95 years old. Or died because of meat products, the cholesterol, and the heart disease. You know, you have no idea how many fucking chemicals are in your food, my food. They fucking fucked everything. You have no clue about the fucking, when you drink out of a plastic bottle, they poisoned the shit out of the human race. Okay? And we see the results now. You fucking, there's more people with cancer than ever before. Everything's gone wrong. More retard babies. It's a disaster. It's a disaster. The liberals were right again. The corporations only cared about the bottom line. If they poison billions of people, who gives a fuck? And they did. That's why you see the human race is going out of control, partially. Cell phones and computers aren't helping, but it's because it's catching up. All the poisons and toxins and stuff have made human beings fucking crazy, fucking retard zombie savages. And you're going to watch. It's going to get worse every week. Watch. More suicides, more mass suicides, more fucking murders, more murder-suicides, more fucking chaos, more fucking anger, hostility, more lawsuits, more everything. The human race are a bunch of fucking scumbags. And it's going to get worse. And then the only safe place to be will be in Bellevue. Haha. I'm going to end this and make a second part. End of part 1.